you could go from this to this. Hey gang, I wanted to come back to you with the final installment of my WeBoost cell phone booster series. So here goes, starting with putting the refrigerator back in, all the way through getting this booster up and running. So now with the wire run down the back of the vent, I can put this refrigerator back in, which will clear up a lot of room inside the RV and make it easier for me to do my internal wiring. It just slides back in, right off of the table that I made. And mine is catching just a little bit on the actual aluminum at the bottom of the opening. So I just have to tip it up a little bit to get it past that. And there we go. So the next step is we have to put the propane connection back on, got to plug in the DC connection, and of course we have to plug in the AC power as well. So let's talk about how we're going to route that cable internally. As you've seen, this is my refrigerator and the cable is waiting at the back of the refrigerator compartment. It's sitting there in a coil and I have to decide where I'm going to route it. If I go through the side of that compartment, I'm going to wind up out here, which is where the cushions for my sofa are. So I really can't go through the side. And if you're really struggling with that reference, I want you to think about it this way. The refrigerator, the bottom of the refrigerator right here rests on the compartment where my cable is already sitting. So this surface matches this surface. So that surface, that level of the bottom of the fridge is essentially equal with the level of the bottom of this sofa. So I can't drill through this compartment this way if I don't want to hit the sofa. I have to go beneath. Now the good news is when I look underneath the refrigerator into this compartment here, right, which is right now filled with cocktail mixers and barbecue sauce, that's a pro tip, the top of that compartment is actually open and I can reach back in there and I can see there's all sorts of wires and things. It's easy to access. I mean, it's a tight space, but it's accessible. Similarly, if I go under here, there's another access point where I can reach way back and I can route cables. That's true actually all the way along the rest of the route of my trailer. I can reach way into the back and get to any cables that I stick through there. So my plan right now is to drill through the floor that the refrigerator is resting on and drop the cable straight down and route it all along the rest of my sofa to get to my dinette. And I can do that all underneath and I can reach it the whole time. I could leave the cable loose in there, but I probably will use a couple ties to just keep it out of the way should I want to route other cables or, just to keep it neat and tidy in there. But since there's nothing back there, I'm not going to worry too much about that process. So to do that, I just need to do a little drilling. Okay, so looking underneath, I can see that this pipe comes around like that and continues that way, right? So I don't want to drill here. I just don't want to get into the business of trying to navigate around a propane pipe. I could also see that this fridge screw was there and that right behind it a couple inches I was in the clear. But once I got back into this corner, there was some sort of big aluminum block or frame member. So I did see that alongside this aluminum pipe seemed clear and behind this seemed clear. So I'm actually going to split the difference and drill right there and hope for the best, right? Maybe I'll cheat a little bit, go a little further in so I can avoid that pipe. I can't tell anything by poking on this because there's nice plywood underneath, but I think if I drill right here, I should be good. Who knows, I may live to regret it, but we'll see. A brad point bit is usually used for wood, but in this case I'm drilling through such a thin sheet of aluminum that it shouldn't be a problem at all. And in fact, a lot of wood tools are allowed to be used on aluminum. So you can see these are close match. I hope I'm not going to regret not drilling it bigger, but here goes. Oh, see, there's a problem actually. See, the little sheet of aluminum is stuck to the front. It's preventing the blades from engaging. I've taken that off now, and now it should be going pretty fast through the wood. There we go. I will have to fill that hole with some die-core or something. Okay. Okay, I'm all the way through. That's what I was hoping for. Let's shove this down there and see what happens. Where I'm bumping into is flexible though. I'll put a little kink in this. Okay, I'm through. Okay, now I'm going to go take a look on the other side. So there's my wire sitting right on top of the wheel well. And there's no barrier here, so I can just pull that straight through so that it's under the sofa without any trouble at all. And I'm going to do that now. Okay, so here's a slightly better angle. You can see the black cable coming down, and it touches the top of the wheel well, and then it loops back up. I can just barely reach it, and it's too sharp an angle for me to pull on, so I'm going to have my son go outside and push it through while I pull on it. Okay, so where we are now is we're under the sofa. This is the sofa right here, and I've pulled this wire through from the wheel well on the other side, and now it's starting to pile up here, right? I got to go further that way to get to my ultimate destination. Now, the temptation is to try and mount the wire all the way back on the shell of the trailer, and here's the thing is, I'm going to resist that temptation. There's no good reason to bury it all the way back there unless I'm going out of my way to try and make it inaccessible in some way. The stuff that goes in here, I have a drawer here and a cabinet, bins go in and out of here. Now, this wall right here doesn't go up all the way. I could just run the table right along the top here, and I'm tempted to do that using staples or something like that. But I have these little sticky things that they gave me with the kit, and I might as well use them. The top of this is too rough to use that, so I could run it inside this surface. But what I'm going to do is just stick it right on the other side, right on the back side of this wall, so that I can just run the cord there easily. Once I get past here, this is the furnace, and I'd like to keep the wire away from the business end of the furnace, the combustion chamber, which means I'm going to keep it on this side of the compartment. Hopefully, routing this wire all through this space, I can capitalize on open spaces and I can make things easy for myself by not trying to overdo it. It doesn't need to be mounted to the shell. It doesn't need to be nuclear safe. It just needs to get where it's going, not rub against other things, not fall down, keep it simple. Okay, so I'm just going to stick these things to the back side of this, right? So here we go. And I'm going to use my finger to just clean the backside of the shelf here, and boom, that's stuck on there already. Okay, I can feel it right behind there. I'll slip through a cable tie. I got the two ends of the cable tie here. Just gonna connect them like usual. And now that wire is secured to the back there. I'll leave that a little loose until I get the rest of these cable ties down so I can choose how I want to, run the cable. But there's one. Took 2 seconds. I'm going to do another one here and another one a little further down there. Hey, it's me again. Let me give you a better sense of things. So this is the other side of the furnace, and this is the bed pulling out, right? This is the furnace vent right here. And when I pull the bed out, if I scooch down here, I can fit my hand up in here to route a cable. I found a spot where I could put a hole through and have it come out on the other side where I could reach to route the cable and where it would just sort of work. I'm just feeding this cable over the top of the wall into the furnace area, and then I'm going to feed it right into here through this hole. There we go. Okay, in the process I've discovered that actually this furnace vent, this is open. It's so the furnace can get air. So it's very easy to reach your hand up into this space and route a cable if you need to. No, you don't have to pull this out at all. So I'll use some zip ties to secure the wire on the far end, and I'll use a zip tie here to secure this and route it around inside this cabinet. And I'm almost to the end here. I'm almost to where I'm going to install the booster. So we're getting close. It's pretty exciting. You can feel it in the air. Okay, so what we got here is the last step here. I got the wire all the way here. This is the furnace vent under my dinette, and this is where I want to come through. So all I have to do is drill through here, and I'm going to use the same drill bit, the 3/8 inch drill bit that we used before behind the fridge. And I'm just feeling back here, and there is nothing to be concerned about. It's a big blank area, so I can just pick a spot. So my primary concern is just that these wires don't interfere with people sitting at the dinette. So I'm going to go as close to the wall as possible, and I think also I'm going to try to go pretty low here, again, to stay out of the way of things. So just reaching in there again and confirming that that's not an issue. And I'm going to pick a spot and go through. I'm drilling from the outside here because that's going to give me the cleaner hole. Okay, it worked. Okay, so now one of the other nice things about this spot is that there's really a lot of empty space back here, so I can leave the remaining coil of wire back there and just pull out as much as I need. And I'm not going to secure anything back there so that I can extend it as needed or retract it as needed, just as I find the best place for the booster itself. So I'll just tuck this wire back in here. I'm going to try to tuck it in a way that doesn't create a lot of tangles. And there we go. See that there's a wide gap from this mark to the edge here and a thinner gap from this mark to the edge here, and that corresponds to the bottom and top. Right now I'm wired into AC power. I'm eventually going to kill that off and make a 12-volt wire run right through here. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the cover to my furnace, which is underneath the sofa in my trailer. And just two screws. I'm looking for a place to tap into 12-volt power to wire in my booster, and it just so happens that there are some wires right here. Red is 12-volt positive and black is 12-volt negative. So if I look over here, I can see that there's the red wire and there's the black wire. Actually, right there are some labels that say exactly the same thing. This is the end of the Wilson device. They give you a nice long cable, and it does have a fuse on it, so actually by wiring it in here I will have access to that fuse. It'll be great. First I'm going to pull the fuse for the furnace. Right here it says furnace circuit number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it is labeled back there. I'm just going to pull that fuse. Okay, so my first step here is going to be to cut into these wires. Okay, there's one. So what I can do now is I can actually tie the reds together here. So I can take this and this and this, twist them together, and use a wire nut on them. Now, to be clear, there are better ways of attaching wires. You could solder that together. You could use crimp connectors. You could use something like this to crimp it together. I'm actually in the field right now, so I don't have a lot of those options available to me. So once again, I'm going to strip this negative wire. This one's going to the furnace. This one's coming from the main panel. And now I'm going to stick those together. These wire nuts do come in sizes. They have to be sized for the wires that you're using, and I did that in advance. It says it usually on the back of the package, and then I am going to wrap this with electrical tape as an added element of security. I am not an electrician, So if an electrician wants to weigh in and tell me what I'm doing wrong, I am happy to get that suggestion. So now this is the Wilson Electronics part, the WeBoost part. It's got a fuse in it right there. And I have it wired into the furnace feed power from the furnace as well. So note that I did not address this blue cable at all. That is the thermostat control cable, so you don't want to touch that. Okay, so before I close this thing back up, I need to feed through the wire here. Through here is, there's just furnace ducts, so I can reach through there and run this cable along the top of those furnace ducts and easily pull it through the other side. There we go, we're all the way through there. So let's give you a quick look with the GoPro. I don't know if you can see anything down there. So the last step here is I'm just going to close this back up because I don't need to be in here again. Remember, the screws are not structural, they're just there to hold the lid down, so don't over tighten them or else you'll regret it. Okay, so we're back under the same cabinet that you saw me come through before. Whereas before with my main wire I came through the front, here through the back, and that's the hole that to the furnace that duct is coming through. So I'm just doing the same thing again. I'm routing this wire along the top of this. I'm going to use wire ties to tie it down, and then it's going to come around here and come out. And I'm just going to drill another hole for it to come out. So let's drill that hole bigger this time. Okay, that should do it. That is a 1/2 inch. The previous hole was 3/8. Actually, the 1/2 inch is just about right. So I'm going to tuck these wires back in there. Again, leaving myself a little slack. Disconnect the AC power. You can see that that's disconnected. And I've now reconnected, but this is DC power, and the reason this light isn't lit is because the fuse is not in. Let me go put that fuse in, and you can watch that light up. And voila! It is up and running on DC power, totally ready for boondocking. So here's the installation in my RV. It's under the dinette here, and you can see here that the antenna sits on top of the table while the booster sits below. It's out of the way. It's easy for me to reach down and unplug the power should I need to. I thought that I would have to install a kill switch, a 12-volt kill switch, to eliminate power draw if I was boondocking, but the reality is I can pull that plug very easily, and also it draws essentially almost no power. My battery monitor, I have a Victron battery monitor, shows maybe 10 watts or 0.1 amps, maybe, hard to tell when this device is plugged in. It may draw a little more power if I have more cell phones going through it or more signals going through it, but realistically it draws almost no power, and I can just reach down there and unplug it should I need to or if I have a concern. The signal amplification is very clear, and I'll leave it to other videos to show you the numbers. You know, there's a lot of people using signal analyzers and showing you the exact boost. And I didn't really believe those videos. I didn't think there would be a discernible difference or a big difference. I thought this might help a little bit, but I am here to tell you it helped enormously. Over this past weekend, I was camping up in Vermont. I had no service on my cell phone at all, 0 service. But if I took my phone out and set it right next to this booster, I got 5 bars of LTE. So I was able to leave my phone right next to this booster and tether my laptop to it and surf YouTube and watch videos and do all sorts of things that I never imagined I would be able to do. But even with this antenna here and my cell phone at the far end of the trailer, I was getting enough signal to send and receive text messages and to make calls. I do want to point out that WeBoost says, hey, this is not for pulling in signal when there is no signal. It's not going to invent cell service out of thin air. So if there is no signal where you're at, you can't expect this to boost it. But where I was, my phone just wasn't strong enough to see the signal that was there. But with this, I was able to really pull it in. I was pretty happy about that. This is no joke. It works really well. So that's it. That's how I got the wire from the roof all the way down through the refrigerator vent and into the final location near the dinette. You might be routing wires for some other purpose, but, well, I hope that helps. Hey, remember, the bottom of the fridge is the coldest part of the fridge.